Good morning. It's News from the Roots on Mountain Stream TV this morning. It's Wednesday, December 20th, 2017. This morning we have a guest, Robert Eidus. He's becoming a familiar face on News from the Roots. And that's great because we've been talking about you having your own show on Mountain Stream TV. And this wouldn't be the first show you've had on television. You had something on URTV in Asheville not too long ago.
2007, 2008, and part of 2009.
Yeah. What happened to URTV?
Well, let's put it like this. There was a lot of programming that made people in government, the city of Asheville and Buncombe County, a little queasy. And they were supposed to put up the operating funds. It started with a grant, and then eventually it went down into operating funds. And eventually the county just said, I'm gone. I think that was 2 years after I left.
Yeah.
I had some problems with the administration. But I thought that the ability to put on community-based television was right on. And, I was happy to do what I did, and I learned an awful lot in the curve.
And what was the name of your show?
Plants and Their Friends.
Plants and Their Friends. And you still have these archived, all of these shows, and I think we're negotiating to put them on Mountain Stream TV.
Yeah. I have some of them. I brought a bunch of them for you to look at.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Yeah. So
that'll be fun.
I think that what I said in from 07 to 09 is just totally still relevant. Every one of those shows, just about.
Well, basically, it's about wild-crafted plants. That I know Robert is the president of the North Carolina Ginseng Association. It used to be North Carolina Ginseng and Golden Seal.
Well, that's
Foundation.
my private company.
Oh, okay.
The nonprofit is just Ginseng Association.
Okay.
And that was after a number of years with the Natural Products Association.
Okay.
And we put on a big ginseng event there. There's all kinds of information that Plants and Their Friends had, including having your son on to talk about how to get rid of toxic waste with mushrooms. Okay. And I was, totally on board with that. But Mark Williams has been on a number of times, Zeb Friedman, Corey Pine Shane. Those were some of the people that were on more than once. And there's a lot of information. We would take a topic like plants that needed their feet in water. Mm-hmm. So pitcher plants that are down by ponds. One of the biggest things that North Carolina did as it moved into a more urbanized areas was all of the ponds that we had naturally were all
the swamplands, basically.
All drained, and so all these plants were lost. But that's just one situation. We had also some talks about our topic today.
Yeah. Which is
CBD, cannabinoidal medicine, and hemp, both the legislation and what's being talked about as medicine.
So, while the rest of the country, or a large part of the rest of the country, is moving forward on that, North Carolina is also, but just a little bit.
Well, it had a interesting beginning into this field when the people in Florida were Republicans concerned about losing brain drain and children to Colorado to cure epilepsy through a whole range of programs that Dr. Gupta, the CNN doctor, did on weed, weed 2, and weed 3. And those are YouTubes, and you can go out and look at those. And they're important.
The CNN doctor? You mean a doctor that was used by CNN television?
Yes.
As an expert? Yeah.
He had his own show, and he would do this research into CBD, first with Charlotte, a young child from the East that went to Colorado. They met the Stanley brothers. The Stanley brothers had a low THC, high CBD plant that they had been propagating with no success, 0 success. And then they hooked up with Charlotte, and they called the plant Charlotte's Web now, and it has, you just have to look at that video weed to see the miraculous transformation from this child by taking CBD medicine. Now, of course, we want to make everybody understand that the medicine for CBDs are taken orally in your mouth. They're not smoked. The research on whether they're good on the skin, I still think has to be done. But almost all of the people who are using it for medicine have a spray that goes in the mouth or an oil that goes in the mouth. And so when this started happening, and then Weed 2, which shows that the United States government has a patent on CBD plants and CBD medicine, a lot of people didn't know, and argues for using this as a health benefit, which runs counter to the argument on the Schedule 1, which says that it has no medicinal benefit. And so we have those 2 patents, and when that started to happen, the Republicans that took over in 10 had 11 state houses. They had the governorship and both House and Senate on state level in 11 states. And those 11 states passed a hemp oil bill. And they did it in 3 days in North Carolina. The House guy had an epileptic daughter, and he pushed it through.
So it hit home.
Yeah, they sent it to the Senate that had an epileptic granddaughter, and it went through, and the next day McCrory signed it into law on Wednesday.
So what year was this?
This was 11, and
2011.
Yeah, and so that was the beginning of this situation in North Carolina that is really muddied because of a number of things that happened. So what I would like to do is just start by giving the people an overview of what happened.
Okay.
How did we get here? Who did this to us, right? So this is information that one of them is a new book called Smoke Singles by Martin A. Lee. It won the American Botanical Council Award in 2012. And it's kind of the history of marijuana. And most of the information will be taken about that. I also noticed that I have in my library The Emperor Wore No Clothes, that Herrera wrote, also famous about how we got into this situation. But it started back in 1938. Very few people were born who are listening to that in 38.
Okay, so FDR is president.
We have Prohibition.
Prohibition is it?
Prohibition just got over.
Okay.
So we got all these guys in Washington that have been hired to work on the alcohol issue, and they don't have a job. Harry is numero uno in creating the DEA.
Harry who?
His last name is something that I don't remember because I don't like the guy.
Okay.
I do believe.
But he's in the cabinet and FDR's cabinet?
No. He was in charge of alcohol and control against.
Under the Justice Department, like it worked for the FBI or
Exactly.
something. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. That's where the DEA is today.
Okay.
So they changed the people going after alcohol to people now going after marijuana.
Ah.
And the Marijuana Tax Act of 37 spells marijuana MIRIHUANNA. Never ever existed before. And there they went ahead and confused the two plants. There's a hemp plant that worldwide for thousands of years was considered hemp if it had low resins of THC or any resin. The resin happens up at the flower and the bud, and that's where the trichomes are, and that's where the THC and the CBD are. They live there. So if you don't have flowers and buds, which hemp is traditionally stalks and seeds, you don't have any THC or CBD. So if you have a product that says it's European hemp seeds, it has no CBD, has no THC, they've washed it all away, anything that would have contaminated. Now here's the problem with part of it. In the late 60s, Dr. Bronner, who has Dr. Bronner Products, sued the DEA and the FDA to bring in hemp seeds that have high omega-3s and high omega-6s. Hemp seed oil is legal in all of the 50 states.
Because it has very little THC.
Has none.
Or CBD, okay.
None. Hemp oil, not hemp seed oil, but hemp oil has that THC in it. And now I'm going to just jump to something that happened recently, and we're going to come back to it. But in Indiana, Opinion 2017-7 outlines the reason why CBD oil should not be made available to the general public in Indiana. And it says, simply put, cannabinoidal is a Schedule I controlled substance because marijuana is a Schedule I controlled substance. We'll talk a little bit more about this.
This is from what year?
This is current.
Current, okay.
This is December 9th, 2017.
Okay.
Yeah. This follows, in North Carolina, there was a taking away of product in Greensboro at a vapor shop, and also in Austin, Texas, a pharmaceutical shop. But the reality is that hemp seed oil is legal in 50 states. Hemp oil is not in those states where medical marijuana is not an option for their citizens. So those 23 states when I started, now it's 28 states, I believe, have medical marijuana or recreational, or both. And that is where we need to go in North Carolina. We need to get to the place where we have medical marijuana, and then these products can be tested properly and then advertised properly and sold properly. Right now, there's a lot of confusion. So let's start in with how this confusion was created. We know that in the 1960s, Israel discovers THC. And we know in the 1990s, Israel discovers that THC is a component of the cannabis.
That's psychoactive.
Yes.
Okay.
And in Israel, it is used by very controlled government people, pharmacies, doctors, nurses, old age homes, but you can't, as an individual, get it. You have to get it through a physician.
So it was used as medical.
It is right now.
And that's the THC component, not the CBD.
Yeah, but now in 1990,
and it was used for psychological disorders. Or
yeah. There's a lot of research that if you know Hebrew, you can probably get on that.
Okay.
And then we come to the 1990s when we get Spain involved. Spain discovered the CBDs.
Huh.
And they're the ones that, with Israel, Spain and Israel have this conference, international, in Europe, every other year. And they have basically determined, I'm jumping ahead, that 1 THC percentage, 1% of THC by weight versus 20% of CBD by weight. They both have trichomes. It's the buds and the top little small leaves. Those, that's the best medicine out there, period. 1 to 20. So you have to have the catalyst of the THC to activate the CBD.
So they work together.
They work together, and their new study now shows that I just saw a week and a half ago on an internet site is that the CBD also needs, the THC also needs some of the CBD to also
be psychoactive.
To be medical.
Medical, okay.
To have some of the medical components. This is brand new research. So these two elements of this one plant, and it's a portion of the cannabis plant that these two elements have to be there to get the best medicine. So that means that if you have low THC, you can have all the CBD in there you want, but it's not going to activate enough of it. And again, the other way, if you have a lot of THC and you have no CBD.
So what's the proportion that you mentioned?
1% by weight of THC to 20% by weight of CBD.
So you just need a little bit of THC to activate the CBD. Right?
That's correct. And the same way, you just need a little bit of the CBD to activate the THC when the THC is real high and the CBD is low.
Okay, and so you said that it's the best medicine for what?
Oh, the range of ailments are huge. If you go to a YouTube that says, what if cannabis can cure cancer? They show you a chart of the benefits, medical benefits of the THC, which in a pie-shaped chart is just a little slice, versus the medicine that can help CBD is like more than half of the rest of of the circle. And then there are other components, because there's 66 known cannabinoidal elements in the cannabis plant. Those are starting to be tested also now, but they have a lot less focus on the medicine that is more specific. For instance, there's a Vietnamese plant that has the only cannabinoidal combination of this in it that the other ones don't have, and it seems to have a benefit to a specific ailment that we as human beings have. But this is all new research, and
Okay.
So
is there any? You said cancer. Cancer, of course, is a very broad topic. I'm sure it doesn't have the same impact on all types of cancers. Is there a specific type or classification of cancer which this has been proven to be especially helpful in?
So what they show in that video, if cannabis can cure cancer, is the fact that there's a medical term for when a cell can get rid of another cell. Okay?
Yeah.
And this medicine has now been proven to be able to do that. The medicine, and there's a lot of information out about the endocannabinoid system. So what's there is in our whole body, there are receptors to the cannabis plant, and they form like a bond. When it's introduced, it bonds with the one that's there, and then they are able to produce some kind of healing from that. And so
it's a general.
So they can kill all kinds of cancer cells.
Immuno response that it causes from our bodies. It boosts our immune system, basically.
It does a lot of things, but basically this video shows that there are an ability of the CBD medicine at times to come and get rid of a cancer cell. Now, here is some of the problems, and if you've been watching Ty Bollinger with his program, which is I'll think about it.
Okay.
It's Ty Bollinger and the Truth About Cancer. An excellent program. And what they learned was that there are sister cancer cells and there are stem cancer cells. And the kind of chemo, radiation gets rid of the sister cancer cells. And that's
how do you SISTER?
Yeah.
Sister, okay.
That's what they call them.
Okay.
So if you have breast cancer, as an example, there are some cancer cells that they can kill that they call sister cells.
Okay.
But there are other cancer cells in your body that are stem cells. And those, then after you kill those guys, for a little period of time, everything's good. And they usually, medical profession says you got 5 years. And after the 5 years, something's going to come back. Or less time. Sometimes a little more. Sometimes you can, change your total lifestyle that got you the cancer to start with, and you can increase your life for a while. But unless you get to killing the stem cancer cells, the kinds of allopathic treatments that we have right now are not going to do anything but prolong your life for a little while. And you're under a lot of misery, and there's not a whole lot of research that says, if I didn't do this and I did this, would I live the same as if I did that? And of course, we don't have that kind of research on human beings. So let's.
So you're saying that the cannabinoids actually kill the stem cells too?
Some. We're just learning about this.
Yeah.
This is brand new. I mean, the societies that have been studying this for years and years, with all the money that they've been throwing at this, are really somewhat befuddling to me that this one guy with independent funding could do the research that we should have been doing to these societal agencies. And part of it is big pharma, part of it is in the root of our big agriculture, and this a combination along with the industrial medical complex is the three legs that have continued to cause some of our problems.
Okay, but aside from cancer, which is a whole field in itself,
Right.
It has other medical benefits.
Oh yeah, it's been thought for not only Alzheimer's but Parkinson's and definitely seizures. Seizures are adult as well as the wonderful research we now have on children. How that is critical for them not having these.
So we're talking about it as a treatment or as a cure?
Both. Both. Because as a child, if you get to clear this up and then the endocannabinoid system is creating those locks so that the seizure doesn't happen, you eventually grow out of it as you get older.
Do you have to continue to use the medicine that whole time?
Yeah, we don't know.
Okay.
From what I mean, I guess at some point the parents can stop doing it and seeing if a seizure does come back and then start doing it. But I think most parents will not take the risk.
Right.
It's not worth it.
So it's something you continually have to do. But unlike many forms of medicine, there's really not, the side effects are pretty minimal.
Yeah. Not only are side effects minimal, but in some cases there are no side effects.
Well, there's some side effects in terms of your consciousness. You know, I don't know. You walk around stoned when you.
No. If you're taking CBD, you're getting medicine to heal you, not to get you high.
That's right. But you're saying that a certain amount of THC has to be present to activate.
If you had post-traumatic stress, then yes, it would happen. If you got into a situation where your stress in your life is less, then you basically have to take less.
Yeah.
So in many cases, you take as much of it to cure whatever it is that, and then you stop.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's retread some steps. I'd like to mention after Spain in the 90s, 1996, we have to give California the accolades it needs to have started this. And that's when Len Richardson's YouTube video, Can Cannabis Cure Cancer, was produced in 96.
So what happened in California?
So what the system that they have out there was you formed a collective, very socially progressive. And the collective would be able to grow and be able to dispense medicine to those people who couldn't grow. Mm-hmm. Or take the plant and make it into medicine for people to take. That's what the collective was. You only had a couple of plants, 6 plants that you could grow at any time in the flowering stage.
So this was made legal in California in 1996.
1996, medical marijuana was made legal in California. And then in 2004, California revises that to have dispensaries. So the thought was there are some people who couldn't get to a collective, and so they needed a place that were brick and mortar that they could go to. So the dispensaries came in. But and that was very controversial. There's many towns that did not agree to have that in their borders, a dispensary. So in 2004, it was that Dr. Bronner's won the DEA legal challenge to make the hemp seed oil available to 50 states. Then 2004 was when the medical marijuana was revised in California. 2008, Rick Simpson oil started, and my project started in 2012. 2012 again was when Smoke Signals by Martin A. Lee was produced as the winner of the American Botanical Council. In 2013, Dr. Alan Frankel created the Harlequin Tsunami strain with the statewide collective, which I think is the highest medicine that you can get. And it's where I learned my education on this product. In 2014, Dr. Gupta, that we talked to CNN reporter, has one on Charlotte's Web with the Stanley brothers in Colorado Springs. And then in 2014, the U.S. Farm Bill defines hemp at 0.3 THC. And then from the...
Or less, right?
Or less.
Or less, right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in 2014, that was Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell that pushed through that. Kentucky was the first state to go into this program. Now, I need to explain at this point that in the 2014 Farm Bill and every other hemp bill or law that's been passed, it is a research project, a pilot project to do research. It's not a temporary situation. So here again...
What do you mean it's not a temporary situation?
I mean, it is a temporary situation. Yeah, it's not a permanent situation. Right. And so here again, we have a couple of really bad policies. Number one, in 38, they lied to us and put the two plants together. And we should have been growing hemp all along. If they wanted to take the psychoactive parts of the plant out, that would have been crazy, since it is medicine, but they did it, but they mixed them together. And part of mixing them together is it's hard to tell one plant from the other. However, there is no doubt that what they did when they created this 0.03 THC was not what the world was doing. The world was low resin, high resin. So that meant, if you had 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, you're still low resin.
Right.
So now by doing this, they because the legislators felt that they didn't want any kid to ever be getting high from any of this stuff. Right. They put the bar down so low that I believe there were even problems with labs trying to get to that.
Find a plant that had it that low.
Well, no, there were plants that we knew, but we didn't have the lab testing equipment to go down that far. One of the big reasons why you had Kentucky going and people doing this pilot program was because in the law, the Farm Bill, it said that those states that complied with all of the regulations that they set out for a hemp program could transport that hemp legally from state to state. So right away, this gives you a heads up that everybody else from other states that even had medical aren't allowed to transport across state lines, and especially hemp products or CBD products. The only state that could do that is Kentucky. And when it comes out of Kentucky, it has to be a .03. They have to certify it. It is not a place to start good medicine. It's a place that you could get some medicinal value out of it, but it's not going to be great. Okay, so what happens in North Carolina? So North Carolina, as I said, with those other 11 Republican states, passed in 2015 Senate Bill 313, Industrial Hemp, creating the North Carolina Hemp Commission, and in 2015, through a House bill, they created the Epilepsy Alternate Treatment Act. Now, that was in 2015, but the act was revised. So some of the things that North Carolina did, to its credit, was it listened to the neurologists, and the original bill had the children assigned to a neurologist who was assigned to a teaching hospital. And they're basically using the kids as guinea pigs to get the medicine. So the neurologist came in and said, wait, that's not cool. We want to treat the people without having to go to the state's teaching hospital. And so they got that in there so that they didn't have to deal with the hospitals. But then they also raised the .3 to .9. So they're really getting very close to the 1% of weight, dry weight in the plant. So,
and what's the significance of 1%?
The 1% again was that 1 to 20 ratio. 1 THC to 20 CBD. So they raised it to .9, almost 1. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to the 1. And then, which was way over 300% increase. And then they lowered. North Carolina was one of the only that had a percentage by weight in the original bill at 15%, and they lowered that down to 10%. So the ideal is 20, and at 15 they were doing good, and then they dropped it down to 10. So that's a whole another situation that is out there. Now, one of the things why you would say, oh, you just told me a couple of reasons why this is illegal. It's crossing state lines. It has some THC in it. Why aren't people doing this? Well, we're going to come to Indiana in a second, where the Attorney General did take some situation. But if you went to the omnibus spending bill in 2015, that's a year after the Farm Bill was put in, they took away all the...
North Carolina.
This is
United States.
United States.
Okay.
They took away all of the line item DEA enforcement from those 23 states that were...
that had legalized
medical, and the 11 states that had the hemp oil, of which North Carolina was one. So we have no DEA funding. If you will kind of think about it, there have been no flyovers in North Carolina since 2016. They don't have any money. And if they don't run into you like the fire department coming to a house and the grow room's on fire, you're not going to get caught. So because there's nobody out there doing enforcement. And North Carolina, along with a number of other states, has said that the meth epidemic and now the opioid epidemic is a lot more on their radar and higher up on their priorities. So,
right, gotcha.
so all of this stuff where it becomes interesting to think about how we're moving forward with this. Some with very bad stuff, and some with at least correcting the lies.
There's kind of a struggle going on, but we're moving up toward in the right direction.
Yes.
Nationwide, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And some of the things that happened, like in 2016, FDA and DEA insisted hemp oil and CBD oil would be still listed on Schedule 1. And Nevada in 2016 has sued the FDA over that ruling that to take CBD off Schedule 1. So, we're in litigation in all kinds of places. We have a couple of things now that I'd like to talk about the hemp program and how we got to where we are in North Carolina.
Okay. You keep going with that. I need to talk to Jeff here for a second, and I'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
Right.
So, in 2017, there was an industrial hemp commission, and they proposed the temporary rules January 2017 for an industrial hemp pilot program as operated under the federal guidelines of the 2014 Farm Bill. Farmers must register in North Carolina and pay a fee which supports the Hemp Commission, which are political appointees, and they pay for all of these political appointees' fees, which per diem, travel, food, lodging, and then the farmer has to get the seeds. Now there are problems in North Carolina getting seeds past DEA, and so a lot of the programs in the other states are like Tennessee or Kentucky gets all the seeds for the farmers. You join the program, you pay, and you get seeds as part of the program. For North Carolina, they decided, we're not going to even do that. We're going to just have the people do that. So the program has gotten off the ground with fiber, the stalks, and the seeds, but there are major impediments to starting a medical marijuana program in North Carolina. The farmer then has to take all of the cost of the research that the NCDA demands and all of the risk. and if the crop fails, and the farmer eats it. And they have to have a letter of intent from a buyer before the crop seeds are even bought, let alone put in the ground, which is kind of crazy. But it is a 2014 farm program outline on what you're supposed to do. I think that unfortunately we've gotten off the wrong track. I think that every farmer should be allowed to grow hemp. Period. And I can point out that during the war, when it was illegal, we had a hemp program that made it legal. That hemp was, from what I was told from USDA, 3 different hemp seed crossed to get the best of them. And that's why we have Ditch Witch out in the Midwest, where hemp is still grown in the ditches. And I've heard of personal people who have hemp growing every single year in ditches in Wisconsin. And there's no reason why those seeds can't be used for everybody in the whole country, that we have to go and get. In Europe, they have a registry of hemp seeds that they've been doing for years and years and years. You got to buy it from them. They're all registered at .03 or whatever that strain is. And it's ludicrous that farmers should not be able to grow hemp. And I will tell you this, for every tobacco field that raped all the nutrients off of the field, the hemp plant is tall. These are mainly stalks that you're going after. Huge 12, 14, 16 foot tall plants. Well, the golden rue, whatever goes up, goes down. So those have roots that go all the way down there and are able to bring up nutrients to make the soil productive again. This should be a goal of all the departments of agriculture in the whole United States, and we still have it as a research pilot program. It is embarrassing as a human to have all of these lies upon us on this plant that is the only purpose is to help human beings. I swear to you that we will rule the day that we have not been able to use this plant correctly, and it's coming to haunt us. We talked about the water last week, and the fact that the studies are showing that the soil fertilization of the soil to produce from the 1950s have been now compromised in 2017 when they've done the new surveys. A lack of minerals, lack of all kinds of the basics that plants need to grow well. And we're having a crisis in our soils that the whole country doesn't know about. It's like with only 2% of the population farming, and the fact that a lot of these farmers are these huge farmers with these big tractors, and they couldn't care because they're throwing all of these nutrients back onto the soil. The whole way that we're doing that is crazy. We should be doing no-till, permaculture, sheet mulching our beds, and the only thing now that they have come to conclude is that small farms are the answer for food for the whole world. And if we don't put our emphasis on small farms, then we are missing the boat. And if we don't allow hemp to reactivate our soil in good ways, we are missing the boat. And if we don't stop the lying that has happened, these younger generations understand what's happening here. And so I will, just finish this little section off by saying that the opinion of the Indiana Attorney General: plants grown to produce marijuana as a drug and plants grown to produce hemp products, both derived from plants belonging to the genus cannabis. The government's long-held view is that cannabis is a single polytropic genus that can manifest differing characteristics. That is true. Varieties can be therefore developed through hybridization to exhibit desired attributes such as low THC, tetrahydrocannabinoid forms, or high cannabinoidal forms, CBDs. That is why the United States Congress, federal enforcement authorities, and courts traditionally have held fast to the botanical characterization of all parts of the cannabis plant identified in the definition under the CSA as marijuana. That is part of the lie. And it's not true. And this is what these guys are living on. Now, as it turns out, there is a situation in Indiana where they came in, they confiscated all from this Fresh Times grocery store in Greenwood, Indiana, in June of 2017. The police confiscated thousands of dollars worth of CBD oil products from the shelves of Fresh Time Market in Greenwood, just outside of Indianapolis. And the story gained nationwide attention, and because of it, the push by people who have been taking this medicine and getting some relief has been that they put up such a stink that they have rethought doing that. And so it's under study right now. And then the governor in this study said that all stores in Indiana that currently sell CBD products have 60 days to sell or remove said products from store shelves or being in violation of the law.
So you said they rethought it, but not to the extent that they're going to stop cracking down on businesses. Yeah. Okay.
Well, what they did is they gave the grocery store back their medicine and said, "You got 60 days, and then we're coming in and we're going to take it again." So one has to be careful. In North Carolina, with that legislation for the hemp oil that was the North Carolina Epilepsy Alternative Treatment Act, 2015, House Bill 766, that states that every bit of the medicine for the epileptics that the neurologist would script has to have a lab analysis attached to the products. In North Carolina, every CBD, every hemp oil has to have a lab analysis to be legal in North Carolina. There is none out there that does that. So we've got a long way to go. Again, the way that North Carolina should proceed, in my opinion, is that we need to pressure the legislature to fully go ahead and have medical marijuana as the minimum. I'm not talking about recreation, just medical. And the last that I was involved at the legislature, there was either 15 or 19 Democratic House members that had supported that. No Senate side, and this just has to be the beginning of a groundswell. And everybody who's listening to this program really needs to let their legislators know that medical marijuana is what North Carolina needs to do to eliminate a lot of this confusion. Now, one of the things that gives me a little bit of hope is that Gillibrand, the senator from New York,
Gillibrand. Yeah.
Gillibrand, and Rand Paul and Cory Booker had a Senate bill to take the medical marijuana off of Schedule 1. They didn't actually have a place where it was going to go, whether it be a script by the doctor, whether it be something that you could get in a pharmacy, or whether it's something you could get where you can get a fishing license, is still not known. But the other part of that bill was to make all CBD medicine legal. And so it's coming. It's just not here. There is people who have been advertising about CBD medicine and hemp oil medicine that give you some wrong information by telling you it's legal in all 50 states when it's only the hemp seed oil that's legal in all 50 states by Dr. Bronner's, and that and that we have to have a situation in this state where people who have problems, PSD, pain, sleeping problems on the low level, to the Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, cancer treatments on the upper level, need to be able to have access to this medicine, and need to be able to say with certainty that what they are getting in the medicine is what they're basically paying for, with information from a lab report to tell them that if they're paying $150, they should be getting a 1-to-20 kind of ratio coming out. If they're getting 0.03 to 5 CBD, then they need to understand that that's all that the THC can activate in the CBD, and the rest of the money that they're paying for, the 10 or 12 CBDs that are there, they're just not getting that value. Now, they are getting some value, and if you take enough of the medicine, you will get a relief from it, and everything is anecdotal. It all should be by laboratory, it all should be by research, and then people will then know that this medicine not only works, but that the amount of money that you're paying for that medicine is also the correct amount that you need. Now, I will say this, that 2 years ago, when I was out in California, the THC medicine was going down. Top shelf now went in 4 years from in the $3,600 a pound to $2,400 a pound to under $1,800 a pound, and now it's $1,000 to $1,500 a pound. Whereas CBD medicine is now around $4,000 to $4,500. Well, there's just not enough of it being produced, and the desire for this medicine is huge. So as there is more CBD medicine being produced, that also will start to lower those costs.
We're about out of time. Is there any parting thought you want to leave with our audience?
Just have the buyer beware, understand what you're getting, get the research and the education you need to make the right decision. But this is good medicine, and we need to fight for this. You need to tell your representatives that you want this medicine and you want it to be legal. you don't want to be an illegal person.
Thank you, Robert Eidus, for coming once again. And again, Robert will be, in all likelihood, hosting his own show here on Mountain Stream TV. And stay tuned, because we have the pilot of another show coming up. Jeff Gottlieb is here with, he's going to be teaching us about earth skills, which is something he's been involved with for many, many years. And thanks, Robert, again, and we'll see you
So,
again.
yeah.
Soon.